Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to the FCS Prep Podcast, where we experience real change right now. I'm your host, Dr. Keith Fairclough, and guys, we are back at it again. We're almost done. This is the second to last video talking about emotions, understanding what they mean so we know how to respond when those moments come. Guys, we are talking about jealousy today. Yes, this whole video is going to be about jealousy. But did you know that there are actually two types of jealousy? Yes, there are two types of jealousy. And we're going to be discussing those today. One of them is unrighteous jealousy, and the other one is righteous jealousy. Maybe you haven't heard of it in those ways before, but we're going to break it down for you today. So again, you can know what messages your brain is sending you, and you can understand that language so you know how to respond. All right. So before we get started, though, you already know what it is. You already know what I'm going to say. Like, comment, subscribe, share. So with that out of the way, let's hop into it. All right. The first one is unrighteous jealousy. Yes, unrighteous jealousy. What is that? All right, what exactly is that? That is when a standard of entitlement that we've set, right? We set that standard of entitlement for something that we did not earn, right? Some effort or something or some credit or something we did not earn, right? It triggers something inside of us, and usually it's triggered. This unrighteous jealousy is usually triggered by seeing other people's results, outcomes, or rewards. When we see them get that, we see them being put on a pedestal. We see them, excelling. We see them doing well, and then something within us just starts to churn, and we just start to, we'll talk about the symptoms in a second, but it starts to churn, and it starts to bother us, and then we start becoming really negative, and our mood starts to change, right? And the crazy part is, usually this tends to be linked to our lack of effort and our lack of strategy, right? So when we set this entitlement like somebody owes me, like I'm owed this, right? Generally speaking, and how it's developed, sometimes I will say this, I'm gonna go off script real quick, not that I have a script, but a lot of times when this sense of entitlement happens, a lot of times people haven't been conditioned or taught how to work and earn things, right? They've been given things when they were younger. They didn't have to work for it. They didn't have to earn it. They get allowances, or people just, as far as parents, they'll buy their kids whatever they want, whenever they want, regardless of, anything, right? Not having time to behaviors or grades or anything along those lines. And so unfortunately what happens is there's a sense of entitlement that's been born in this person where they think that they're owed something just for showing up and being here. So the symptoms can be like tightening in the chest, agitation, pacing back and forth, and one of the things you'll see very, very common in those who are experiencing unrighteous jealousy, or even when you are experiencing that, you're going to find you're a lot more critical of other people. Sometimes you'll start being critical of them for things that have nothing to do with the accomplishment at all. Simone Biles, right? Literally probably the greatest gymnast to ever be born, right? Doing things that are so insanely good that the board of gymnastic directors, or whatever you want to call them, actually we're trying to stop people or stop her from doing those things because in their mind it was so dangerous. That's how good she is. So someone that is that good, that's that incredible, that's a shining light and example to so many people of success and hard work and grind and grit. How is it possible people will still be, oh, look at her hair, look at this, look at that, look at how she's, they'll find something to pick at. Why? Because that unrighteous jealousy is that they see her being successful. They see her doing well. They see her getting accolades. They see her being loved. They see her being lauded. And it bothers them because it's like, I should be getting that. I should be getting that love. I should be getting that credit. And I will say this, my empathetic side will say there's probably something going on within that person. Maybe they don't feel loved. And so because they don't feel loved, they don't like to see anybody else feel loved or being lauded like that. Now, how do we correct this, right? first, we got to make sure before we go out and start, talking to people and things about that, try to rein that stuff in. Just because you get this message does not mean you have to respond to it. Doesn't mean you have to respond to it in that negative way I could describe before, and how people were responding to Simone Biles and other people as well who are successful, right? We don't got to respond that way. We can feel that way inside, but what we need to start doing, the first thing, we need to start refocusing our thoughts and our feelings, right? We need to start looking at ourselves and being like, okay, why am I even feeling this way? Why do I feel the urge to tear someone else down just because they're doing well, right? And then what we need to do, then we start changing our mind and our focus to like, well, I can do well in whatever area I'm in. I can excel in this area, right? I can start doing that. I can achieve similar or even better results than this other person. We got to start focusing our mind on those things, right? Instead of shifting and looking at what what other people have accomplished and being jealous about it, we need to shift our mind to, okay, what can I do? What can I control? What can I be great in, right? Because if we focus on that, then we can really be great in whatever our area is. Right? Next thing, make sure you engage in daily gratitude and appreciation. That's going to help stave off that sense of entitlement, that unrighteous jealousy. Because if you're always grateful, if you're always thankful, if you're always in a mode of appreciation, you're really not going to get that message of unrighteousness, right? Of jealousy, right? Unrighteous jealousy. You're not going to get that message. Not really. And if it does come, you'll be quickly able to shift your mindset and just be grateful for what you have. And I'll hop to the other one, is that congratulate other people on their achievements and their accomplishments and support them. So when you move with a spirit of gratitude and a spirit of appreciation, and you start congratulating other people and supporting their achievements, then guess what's going to end up happening? For one, you're going to start feeling good about yourself. You're going to feel good about others. You're going to make connections, right? You're going to get that motivation. You're not going to see someone doing well and then say, oh, I can't believe that. You're going to be like, man, I'm so happy they're doing well, and I can't wait to get there. That's going to be me one day. That's where your mind starts shifting, and then you no longer start coming with that unrighteous jealousy. Now, I will say this, when you start getting that thought, when you start getting that message, I would dare say your mind is sending you that message so you can fix it. Because I can't imagine your mind wants to believe that you're lesser than, or you deserve to get something you didn't really work for. I would think that your mind is sending us that message to correct it so we don't operate in unrighteous jealousy, because that's not something that has to continue to come up. And I will say this, it may also be tied to your self-esteem and your self-worth as well, right? So here's another thing to remember as far as correction for this. You have to understand that nothing is owed to us just because we're here. Just because we show up, just because we've been born, right? No one owes us a thing, especially if you don't put any type of work, strategy, or effort into anything that you're trying to do. If I'm working really hard and have strategy and I'm trying and I'm pushing and I'm doing this, and this will kind of tie into the righteous jealousy, but I won't hop there yet. But if I'm doing that, if I've did a job, if I have a contract or whatever the case may be, there's work and effort for me to receive credit for, to receive results for. So keep that in mind, that no one owes us anything, especially if we're not putting in the work and the effort. So it's so important, everybody, listen, put in the work, put in the effort, put in the strategy. When you start doing these things, you start operating from a place of gratitude and start operating from a place of appreciation and start congratulating others and building other people up, refocusing your mind to understand that you have the power to be great and awesome as well, right? Someone else's light doesn't have to dim yours. We can all shine together. That's the beautiful thing about it. And then when you start operating in these corrections that I've described, you start operating like that, then guess what? You won't have that feeling of unrighteous jealousy anymore. And I'll be honest, I honestly cannot remember the last time I've actually experienced unrighteous jealousy. Now, for all the other emotions that we've talked about before, frustration, anger, anxiety, loneliness, disappointment, inadequacy, I can tell you and point out to stories for myself of all those emotions. But as far as unrighteous jealousy, I honestly cannot remember. Right? Doesn't mean I'm perfect or anything like that, but I do operate from the place of all these corrections I'm talking about right here. So when you start operating from that place, you will start seeing that, man, that message isn't coming around anymore. That's why I say I don't think the brain wants us to experience that. This is probably one of those emotions where it's more so a warning from your brain, like, you have a rule of entitlement that's not supposed to be there. You need to change that because this is something we really shouldn't have to be feeling and experiencing. So that is unrighteous jealousy. All right. Now let's move on to righteous jealousy. I'm the R's there, right? So righteous jealousy. What is that? What is righteous jealousy? Righteous jealousy is when our standard has been violated, right? Our standard of we put in hard work, we should receive something back, some credit back. It's when it's been violated because either someone has stole our credit, stole our work, or our effort and our work has been redirected to another person, has been redirected to another cause, right? And you have to experience that, right? So, this usually happens again when we see other people stealing our results. When you're in that meeting and your boss, instead of giving you credit for the work you did, they're taking credit. It happens when you create something and someone comes along and steals it. Right? I could imagine someone like a Nikola Tesla, right, whose ideas, a lot of them were stolen, and patents and things were stolen. I won't go into all the detail. I can imagine there might have been some righteous jealousy there because it's like I put the work in, I did the work, and now someone's coming and taking it from me, and that's not right. And they're getting credit for things that I did. They're getting credit for my ideas, right? So there's something about righteous jealousy that we need to make sure that we're aware of and what's going on. Something else to think about when it comes to righteous jealousy is when other people are receiving the affection, the emotion, the attention that we feel that we deserve, right? Imagine your spouse giving more attention to somebody else, who hasn't put in, who doesn't really love them, but they're giving them more attention than you're getting. Right. And we won't go into the nitty gritty details of that, but we're going to be jealous. We're going to be jealous, and rightfully so. And you think about something like this, like even when you look in the Bible and it talks about how God, was jealous, right? Because Israel was always going out there and serving and worshiping other gods. And that's a righteous jealousy. Why? Because God put in for Israel. He did a lot of good for them. And now they go and they start cheating on God, essentially, with these other gods who aren't even real, made out of wood and stone and man's hands and things like that. So that's a righteous jealousy. He actually compares it to a woman who's cheating on her husband. That's a righteous jealousy, right? Meaning that this is a message. Now, this is a message from our brain that says, hey, we got to do something about this. We put in too much and too long and too hard to let this just go to the side. So let's go into the symptoms. Now, I'll say this. The symptoms for righteous jealousy are very similar, if not the same, as those for unrighteous jealousy. So the same tightening of the chest, the same pacing, the same agitation. The only difference in this is there may be a little bit of criticism, but more so out of frustration for you not getting credit for your work. And you might see more advocating for yourself, more communicating, more opening up and engaging in conversations to correct the situation. So you might see a little bit more of that with the righteous jealousy rather than the unrighteous jealousy. So the symptoms are kind of the same, except you see a little bit more self-advocacy with the righteous jealousy, right? So now how do we correct this? How do we fix this righteous jealousy? All right. First and foremost, safeguard your work and your efforts. That's the first and foremost thing. And I'll be honest, when I was writing the list and I was making this stuff out and doing this, that actually was the last one that came to mind. But I'm gonna tell you right now, that is the first thing you must do. In any way, shape, and form, safeguard your work and your efforts. Or if you're in a relationship, safeguard your relationship. Set it up in such a way where no one can enter, no one can steal it. There's no doubt in anybody's mind that that is yours. Your stamp is on that, right? You think about like music producers, particularly in the rap genre, right? Those producers, what do they do to let you know that that's their beat? They will put their name on it. something on the beat, or some type of, they'll say their name, producers do that. Why? Because I can't steal their effort. When you hear that beat, you know it's mine, right? Okay. The next thing, you got to forgive the offender. Whether it's your boss or your spouse or your friend or whoever, business, whatever, you got to forgive them, because you holding on to that unforgiveness is only going to destroy you. It's not going to help you. It's going to send you spiraling into all the other emotions, loneliness and depression and sadness and all that. It's going to send you into that frustration. It's going to send you in a tailspin down that road. You got to let it go. You got to let it go, right? Forgive the other person. Hey, I'm forgiving you. You can do it to their face, or if you want to do it, behind closed doors or within yourself, or journaling, whatever you got to do, but you got to forgive the offender. Whoever hurt you got to forgive them. All right. The next thing you do is you got to communicate. You got to advocate for yourself. If you see that your efforts are being taken, you need to speak up and say something. Don't just let people just run wild with your stuff. You see them saying something, be like, hey, listen, I heard you in that meeting. You were talking about, you didn't even mention my name. Like, I would like credit for the effort I put in. Make sure you advocate for yourself respectfully and effectively, right? In a meeting, and some people might be like, oh, that's too brash, and take it as you will, and do it. Your situation, what it is. But there may be times when you need to speak up in that meeting and start talking about your work if someone else is bringing it up as if it's their work. Now, some people might say, well, that's kind of combative, Keith. That's going to cause like seeds, whatever. That's why I just said and prefaced it. You know your environment. You know your situation. You know what you're in. So if you could do that, do that. But if not, then find another way to do it. All right. Once you do all that, make sure you reestablish your boundaries. Do not let people just run all over you. Do not let people just continue to take and take and take and take. Right? You got to make sure you reestablish those boundaries. Set up those safeguards. Make sure there's a paper trail. Make sure your stamp is on it. Whatever you got to do, but reestablish those boundaries so whoever is around you, whether it's your wife or your husband or your boss or your friends or organization, whoever it is, they now know, oh, shoot, hey, when they come through for the work, I got to make sure I give them credit. I got to let them stand up. I got to honor them, right? I know the Bible says give honor to whom honor is due, right? It's a good thing. Any good leader should be honoring the people underneath them. And when you speak up, when you reestablish those boundaries, when you safeguard your work and your efforts, when you forgive the offender, and when you communicate with the people who are doing this, when you have that communication, then you'll answer the message your brain is giving. Your brain say, okay, cool, we're good now, right? No more jealousy, right? Because everything's back in working order. So that's it, guys. Unrighteous jealousy and righteous jealousy, right? That's it. That's all I got for you. So again, like, comment, subscribe, share, right? Remember, don't allow unrighteous jealousy to hang around, right? It's not designed to be there. It's not designed to be there. I will joke around with people, and for those of you who remember the movie The Bodyguard with Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner, in that movie, at the end, if you haven't seen it, it's going to be a spoiler alert. Not really, but whatever. At the end, Kevin Costner is standing on one side of the stage, right? Because there's an assassination attempt that's about to happen on Whitney Houston. And he looked across the other side of the stage and he saw a guy with the camera. And he was telling one bodyguard, he said, hey, you see that guy over there? He's not supposed to be there. You see him over there? He's not supposed to be there. So the bodyguard went over there to remove that guy from over there, and it ended up being the assassin or whatever, and blah, 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 whatever. Watch the movie. It's a great movie. Unrighteous jealousy is like that guy across the stage. He's not supposed to be there. That's not supposed to be something that comes up on a regular basis. And if it is something that comes up on a regular basis, we probably have deeper work to do. Remember, it can be a learned behavior from our parents and how we grew up, but it can also have to do with the lack of self-worth and self-esteem and hating to see other people be good and do well. So you feel you have to tear them down because you don't want anyone being better than you. You don't want anyone exposing you for what your lack of effort, essentially, and your lack of strategy. Right? You don't want people doing that, so you end up trying to tear everybody down around you. There's no need to do that. That's not the message your brain's trying to tell you. It's trying to give you a warning and say, we got to get rid of this. This is not right. Okay? Okay, which is why it's unrighteous jealousy. But in any case, that's it, guys. I love you. Hope you all have a great, awesome, and blessed day. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, and share so people can get help and they can experience real change right now. Y'all take care. I'll see you in the next one.